All right, so welcome back to our show. I'm sure by now you are at least getting yourself in tune with factors that are affecting our climate, and as a result, we are having these deep, sunshines and deep rainfalls and everything that has come together to make our world a little bit of a challenge when it comes to the climate and its impact on human lives. Okay, now just to recap what we have already spoken about earlier, we've spoken about the definition of climate change. We have spoken about greenhouse gases and what are the composites of greenhouse gases. We've mentioned fossil fuel combustion. We've mentioned deforestation. We've mentioned cement production. Okay, we have mentioned these three are the compositions of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere or the climate, as it were. Now, we've given you the explanations of the fossil fuel. We've given you the breakdown that coal is one, oil production is one, and natural gas is also another. Now, the second, we have mentioned cement production. Not to forget about that, cement production as well. Now, we have the second composite of the greenhouse gases, and that is methane or the methane. Yes. So that is it, and it's also we have the fossil fuel are part of the methane gases. Okay, and agricultural and landfills. Because we've already explained issues about fossil fuel, we are zooming straight to agricultural. Why agriculture is also part of the challenges we are facing with respect to climate change, or why agriculture is part of the causes of climate change. Now, so we're saying that agriculture use changes can also significantly contribute to climate change. Agriculture, as it were, the use of agric implements, the use of agricultural mechanisms and its implementation on our soil has another growing effect on the climate change. Large-scale agriculture or large-scale changes in agriculture, deforestation, as I mentioned earlier, deforestation, soil erosion, machine-intensive farming are all part of methods that also contribute to the causes of climate change. Let me exercise patience to break this one down for you to understand. We are saying that large-scale agricultural production, that's number one. Deforestation. Deforestation is when we are cutting down trees like nobody's business. Deforestation. In fact, in Ghana, we experienced our part of deforestation from the 1960s down to the early 2000s, where, wood production, timber production was so high. Because one way or the other, it was bringing foreign exchange to the economy of the country. It was good. So like I said, anything we have used our natural resources for, it's as a result of industrialization and that of bringing income to the state for development. But it's having its rippling effect on the environment and the atmosphere. That is why we are talking about it. So deforestation, those times we were told when, and even it's now, when the last tree dies, the last man dies. Because the more we cut the trees and we don't plant new trees, the challenges comes back to us. Okay, so our oxygen intake is limited, and when it is limited, the chances are that it will get to a time human being will not even have oxygen to breathe or to take in for life, and that is another effect. Now we are saying that soil erosion, when we don't plant trees and the soil is open to direct sunshine and rain. When it rains directly and there are no plants to accumulate the water that is being soaked on the earth's surface, it drives away all the sand, and then it causes deep soil erosion. Erosions where it gives you a direct earth contours. So when the rain falls, it drives away all the sand because there are no plants to absorb them. So that is also a big cause for a climate change. And we're talking about industrial machine intensive farming. So we are talking about large scale farming where they are using all the plows, all the combined harvesters, everything that you can talk about, the tractors that is plowing the soil. As you turn the soil, the surface of the soil, you are raising the heat within the soil and it goes directly. Where does it go? It goes to the atmosphere. And that one also causes a high level of climate change. So it's also part of the climate challenges. Now, the use of fertilizers. Fertilizer you use here, you know, I don't know, say, boy, I can say, it's for fertilizer, it's also part of the causes. So you see, I don't know, some na air cost, yeah, the causes. Human activities, like I mentioned earlier on, human activities are part of the challenges we are facing in this climate change situation. Biomass combustion, and of course, you know about that. Nitrous oxide are also part of these gases that are emitting out of the soil cracks and it goes up to the atmosphere, and these are challenges. Agriculture is a significant contributor to anthropogenic global warming and reducing agricultural emissions. Largely methane and nitrous oxide could play a significant role in climate change mitigation. Now, however, there are important differences between carbon dioxide, which is a stock pollutant. You see the difference? The stock pollutant and methane, which is predominantly a flow pollutant. So we have the stock pollutant and the flow pollutant under methane. Okay, thank you. So these dynamics means that conventional reporting of aggregated CO2, that is the carbon dioxide, is equivalent emissions to the highly ambiguous and does not straightforwardly reflect historical or anticipated contribution to global temperature changes. Now, what this point is saying generally is the fact that dynamics within the changes in the entire atmosphere with respect to carbon dioxide does not have that direct effect. It doesn't have that direct effect. So in other words, when you have a methane, which is predominantly a flow pollutant, that has a higher propensity of affecting the entire atmosphere when it comes to the causes of climate change. And that is what is most important. This is much more scientific. And let's continue. As a result of both roles, that is within the methane gases and then carbon dioxide, the roles and responsibilities of different sectors emitting different gases are similarly obscured by common means of communicating emission reduction scenarios using the carbon dioxide equivalence. So the carbon dioxide, in other words, will be the mitigating factor as against the methane gases that are more of a flow challenge to the atmosphere. Now, we urge for a shift in how we report agricultural greenhouse emissions and think about their mitigations to better reflect the distinct role of different greenhouse gases. Now, due to this aforementioned point, it is expedient that policymakers come out with clear-cut policies. So we say, yeah, agriculture, media ye die no. Wo ne kwan bi so no, say yanhwe ye endua nnuaba a etumi eboa ma asase no nya ne na ahwea na ohia ene nnote na ohia se ni nyina betumi aye adwuma bom. Na yahwe ne ye na ye de adwen na kogina fertilizer so a asase no heat bekom sa heat no, it is not worthy for consumption. Okay, so when you plow the land, the heat will go up, will emit into the atmosphere, and this cause one of the greatest dangers in the causes of the climate change. As I mentioned, that is methane. The methane gases are very, very strong when it comes to the causes of the climate change issues we are talking about currently. All right, now let's move straight to this. I was talking about policymakers. So policymakers, stakeholders, and civil society at large, or civil society organizations at large, should also be reminded that the role of agriculture in climate mitigation is much broader topic than climate science alone can inform. So there's a climate science aspect and there's a climate change mitigating aspect. So this is what we are talking about. That stakeholders within the broader value chain within the agriculture sector must be able to distinguish between the two. So let's continue. So we are saying a more nuanced perspective on that impact of a different emissions could aid these conventions. So now, having gotten the agriculture subsector and how they also contribute, we have our last group, which is the industrial processes. This one, we are talking about the chlorofluorocarbons. Now we are doing much more science into this part of our videos. But let's conclude all our thoughts on the industrial processes that is also contributing to the causes of climate change. I made mention of the fact that industrial processes, most especially dwelling on gases, that is chlorofluorocarbons, fluorocarbon 12. That is in its scientific illustration, they do it CFC-12 refrigerants. You remember some time ago in Ghana, the Energy Commission issued a ban on fridges, second-hand use or home use fridges that is being imported into Ghana. So na Energy Commission say fridge be a different approach, but be an answer ton of force fridges no, and more be on top, and more farm Ghana crampo. You remember? Yes, the gases in a woman. The issues were as a result of the gases that were being used. Ebeba Ghana ha. Omunim say these gases no. Who's a fridge wo ye adwuma gas na woman ema ade a wo pese eye cool. So these gases no, it will emit into the atmosphere. And these emissions no, they are harmful to the atmosphere and are part of the causes of climate change. So, and I've mentioned one of them, that is the chlorofluorocarbons. So, Energy Commission's thought was that when you bring some of these fridge, that was saying, they don't know, you should be. Now, saying, I got to talk fridge for I can see. But first, no, be a use home use fridge. Those fridges and gases in a woman, it has a strong effect on the climate and then also contribute to what we are talking about. You say, refrigerants is a working fluid used in the refrigeration cycle of air conditioning system and heat pumps, where in most cases they undergo repeated phase transition from a liquid to gas and from gas to liquid at the same time. Now, these areas I want you to understand are a major contributor. So if you are recalling all that we've spoken with respect to the definitions, all that we gave today is the definition and causes. In our subsequent videos, we're going to teach you or going to expose to you what you and I, our activities, what you and I, ni mantem, they are able to cause a high level of climate change. Yeni also able to afa can be so able to what we can do to ameliorate climate change causes, or better still, reduce the effect of climate change, so that you and I will enjoy the earth God has created for us to enjoy. So that will be in our other subsequent videos. But with this, don't forget, we have done 4 different parts in this video. The first one, we defined the climate change. The following one, we did the causes of climate change. And then we gave you the composites, what really caused them. We mentioned that human activities predominantly is number one. And we have told you that natural processes are also part of it. Now, this video has given you the greenhouse gases that are emitting from the atmosphere, from the Earth's crust into the atmosphere. And has been one of the causes of this. And we mentioned carbon dioxide. We have mentioned fossil fuel combustion as part of the carbon dioxide. We have mentioned deforestation and the cement production. We've given you explanations on the fossil fuel. Kwanya fossil ye two oil na de ye wasase yesi eni ekutia sa atmosphere ya ye deriving your sunshine any nsuo every say a kosra. When the heat goes up, it forms clouds and it gives us rain. It's a climatic cycle. But if you are a boss is here about den nsuo tod den and no additional and then you see how coal is part of the causes. You can crude oil is part of it. You can natural gases are part of it. You can cement production. You can methane gases and also a part of it. Agriculture is part of it. We've mentioned so many things, including chlorofluorocarbons as also part of it. So, without much ado, this video is in 4 parts. It's in 4 parts. Don't forget, in 4 parts where you have to follow from part 1, part 2, and part 3, as well as the final part, the part 4. Don't forget to subscribe to our page. Be part of this show, even as we continue to give you much more sustainability content for you to enjoy. Until we come your way again another time, we say bye-bye and be good.